Thetak. This morning, hundreds of people stood outside Dubai Mall and Mall of the Emirates before dawn. Some had been there since midnight. One, according to comments on Swatch's Instagram, had been waiting 18 hours. They had come for a watch. They left with nothing. At some point during the day, Swatch UAE posted 28 words to Instagram. In view of public safety considerations, we have decided not to proceed with the sale of the product at Dubai Mall and Mall of the Emirates, and the event has been cancelled. We appreciate your understanding and continued support. No apology, no acknowledgement that real people had surrendered their Friday night in good faith, no rescheduled date, no alternative route to purchase. And from Audemars Piguet, the brand whose most iconic design anchors the entire collaboration, nothing at all. The royal pop cancellation is being reported as a safety story. It is not. It is a governance failure that was entirely foreseeable by both brands 4 years in advance. In March 2022, Swatch launched the Omega Moon Swatch. Police were called to Carnaby Street within 30 minutes of opening, after just 10 customers had been served. Crowds required management in Singapore and Australia. In Dubai, resale prices hit DH 20,000, more than 20 times the DH 950 retail price within days of launch. That is not a surprise outcome. It is documented institutional knowledge, preserved in news coverage, police incident reports, and Swatch's own archives. The company has run this distribution model 3 times now: Moon Swatch in 2022, the Blancpain Bioceramic Scuba 50 Fathoms in 2023, and the Royal Pop today. In store only, first come, first served, no queue management system, 1 unit per person per day. Each time, the brand has understood that manufactured scarcity would produce demand that no retail floor could safely absorb. The question this pattern raises is not whether Swatch knew crowds would form. The question is whether that knowledge carries accountability, and the answer, both legally and reputationally, is becoming harder to avoid. The legal dimension is real. UAE Civil Code Article 282 obliges any party whose act causes harm to another to make good the damage. English tort law and its common law analogues across the jurisdictions most relevant to luxury brand governance establish a duty of care wherever harm to a specific class of persons is reasonably foreseeable. These crowds were not an edge case. They were the product of a deliberate distribution strategy whose consequences had already been demonstrated twice. What makes this episode legally interesting and reputationally more complex is the governance gap between two genuinely independent organizations. Swatch and Audemars Piguet share no parent group, no common operational infrastructure, and no joint crisis protocol. When the Moon Swatch chaos unfolded in 2022, Omega and Swatch were at least part of the same corporate family. Here, two separate entities co-designed a launch event whose crowd dynamics were entirely predictable, and neither has clarified who was responsible for safety planning at the retail level, whether mall operators were engaged on crowd management protocols in advance, or who made the decision to cancel and when. Undefined accountability at a co-branded event is not an oversight. It is a structural choice, and it has consequences when things go wrong. Then there is the communications failure, which compounds everything. Crisis communications has a foundational principle: acknowledge before you explain. When people are affected, name what happened to them before you frame your own decision-making. Swatch asked for understanding. Compare that to Sephora, which recently faced a far smaller Dubai event issue and responded with 2 words: truly sorry, direct, human, sufficient. Swatch had 18-hour queues and produced passive institutional language that reads like a liability management exercise dressed in the grammar of gratitude. Audemars Piguet produced nothing. Both brands told a story about democratization, about access, craft, and inviting a new generation into the world of mechanical watchmaking. AP announced that 100% of its proceeds from the collaboration would fund horological education and the preservation of craft skills. These were not empty lines. People believed them seriously enough to sleep outside a mall in May in Dubai. When those people were sent home with 28 words and a request to keep supporting the brand, Swatch and Audemars Piguet made a very public statement about which stakeholders actually matter. The Royal Pop will be rescheduled. It will sell. The grey market has already priced it at 6 times retail. In pure commercial terms, The cancellation may even be described in a future case study as a launch that generated earned media worth multiples of any paid campaign. But something else happened today that cannot be recaptured. The relationship between these brands and the people who most wanted to believe in them was stress tested publicly, and it did not hold. Luxury is built on trust. In the GCC market, that trust is personal, relational, and long memoried. It does not reset with the next drop. Swatch and Audemars Piguet have a narrow window to recover the ground they lost this morning. The question is whether anyone in either organization has the authority and the instinct to simply say, sorry, THESIGNAL. We appreciate your understanding and continued support. Swatch UAE Instagram, 16th May 2026. The complete public response to customers who had queued for up to 18 hours, 28 words, no apology, no acknowledgement of the individuals affected, no word at all from Audemars Piguet, THEQUESTIO, and when two independent brands co-engineer desire at scale and then decline to name who owns responsibility for the crowd they created, is that ambiguity an accident of governance, or is it part of the product? SOURCES and FURTHERREADIN GS Watch UAE Instagram cancellation statement 16 May 2026. The Guardian Moonswatch launch chaos. Police call to Carnaby Street March 2022 Hodinky Royal Pop collaboration overview. Swatch Audemars Piguet 2026 UAE Civil Code Federal Law Number 5 of 1985 Article 282 Civil liability for Harmwatch Pro, Blancpain Bioceramics Scuba 50, Fathom's launch coverage, 2023 Audemars Piguet, Royal Pop collaboration announcement and charitable proceeds commitment, 2026. The views expressed in this newsletter are Jonathan Ashton's own personal perspectives and do not represent the views of any organization with which he is affiliated.